Thank you very much for joining me. This is the morning market review. It's Wednesday and it's the 22nd of November. My name is Russell Shaw. I'm a senior market specialist at FXCM. And my email address is rshaw@fxcm.com. And if you'd like to send me an email, rshaw@fxcm.com is the email to correspond to. Just going to go ahead and bring up our high risk investment warning. All right, just keep that on screen for a few moments. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, Raj. Pleasure to have you on the webinar as always. Thank you everyone for signing in this morning. Again, just to let you guys know, I'm looking at two monitors here, so I'm cognizant that I'm not looking directly at the camera. I'll try my best to look ahead. It's just the I'm just looking at the communication on the other monitor. I'm just going to go ahead now, bring up our market commentaries disclaimer. Hey Anna, good morning to you. Nice to have you on the webinar. Thank you very much for signing in. All right, and just our references, MarketScope 2.0 and TradingView.com. Let's just go through to TradingView.com. And here again, we're starting with the real rate. To me, this is a place for us to always start. We've mentioned the topping pattern. Where it's complex is, are we moving laterally now? Are we starting to move horizontally? If we're starting to move horizontally, that could be problematic. Could be problematic for us because a lack of direction in one of the key drivers of the market is going to affect our trading. There is a little bit of blue that's come in. I suspect perhaps it's from the minutes. The FOMC minutes were released last night. I don't think there was anything really that we didn't know there. They are cautious. They are keeping rates higher for longer. No mention of any rate cuts, understandably, and they are still worried about inflation because inflation ultimately is still quite a bit away from their target. Nevertheless, I'm of the opinion that this here is still the dominant candle. What is this candle? Why don't it get a big drop here? And that's from last week, Tuesday. The CPI came in lower than anticipated, and really it's charted the right shoulder. Just go ahead and look at the US dollar. Before I do that, one of the themes now that we have to keep an eye on is, are we moving horizontal or are we going to complete this head and shoulders pattern? It's going to make a big difference for us as traders. Okay, so keep an eye on that. Let's just go ahead and bring up the US dollar. US dollar actually strengthened yesterday. You can see this buying tail that's come in. I want to look at this on the daily chart. I think the daily chart here perhaps gives us a little bit more insight. We are, just before we get there, let's just reiterate some of the technical signals that we're getting off of the weekly. Well, we're below the 30-week moving average. The 30-week moving average trying to tilt downwards, and of course the RSI is below 50. So some bearish pressure coming in on the weekly chart. Now, what do we do with the fact that the dollar showed some resilience yesterday? I think that we try and monitor this. Not try, I think we monitor this via the trend. So let's put in another LP here. LP stands for lower peak. Okay, here's the lower trough. Okay, and now potentially another lower peak coming in, potentially. Okay, again, it's we don't want to predict, but in terms of the downwards pressure that we see on the weekly and the fact that the daily has low peaks followed by lower troughs, we've got a series of those now. I'm going to put in LP question mark here. Okay, so it's still in zone 3, that's the bearish area, and of course we are below 50 on the RSI. Let's just take a look at the hourly chart, see where the resistance levels are. Okay, here you can see it's breaking down out of this flag pattern. We put that in previously. 1, 2, 2, 3. Here's the next 1, 2. Okay. 2, 3. Okay, and let's just see if we can get some sort of pattern on the 2, 3. Excuse me, perhaps some sort of wedge. What we've got to do now is keep an eye on the R1 pattern. Sorry, the R1 pivot. I'm begging your pardon. Let's just zoom in here. There. So the R1 is now our key level of resistance. And I think we can just add a little bit more granularity to that. Let's take these guys out. We don't need them anymore. Okay, these we can take out. Let's move this there. Let's just put in a fib first. Okay, so we're about a 50% retracement. About a 50%. So it's a decent. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong number. It's a 38% retracement. Okay, 38% retracement on an hourly chart. Still perhaps shallow. It is a fib level. There is R1, and I think what we can do is we can put a resistance. I think we can put a resistance. I'm just jammed up here. Bear a moment. What we can do is draw the resistance from this candle here through to R1. All right. Let's just see if I can bring up a different chart. Bear with me a moment. The other one was jamming up. All right. While we're waiting for MarketScope, there was something else I wanted to show you. So MarketScope's not really behaving itself this morning. Let's just go back to TradingView. I wanted to show you guys something that I think is quite interesting. NVIDIA released its quarterly results overnight. They were actually really good. The revenue came in at about $20 billion, which was better than the street's expectation, which was just shy of 18 billion. Nevertheless, it has pulled back in pre-market trading. And the idea there is because there's been such lofty expectations for NVIDIA, even though they've got such good results, the market perhaps showing some sort of disappointment. I think that potentially an opportunity. So a few things, let's go ahead, bring up NASDAQ. Just use the FXCM. And what you can see is that actually went overbought briefly over here. Went briefly overbought here. Okay. And I think there may be a pullback on the cards here. I don't think it's going to be too severe. Let's just do some analysis here. Let's change this from red to blue. Yeah. Okay. So you've got here is an overbought condition. Remember we talked about the trend of the RSI. It's called a failure swing. So we've got peak, trough. So this looks like a failure swing here. Last time we looked at failure swings was with the real rate, and it actually worked out quite well. And here we've got this lower peak. I beg your pardon. Here we've got this lower peak. Followed by this lower trough. So there does seem to be some sort of pressure on the NASDAQ. Again, I think that it would probably be some sort of buy the dip opportunity. So something like this. Because I feel going into the end of the year, we do have the potential for some strength there. If we go through to the SP 500, SPX 500, let's just bring that up. Okay, you can see that it's also correcting from an overbought condition. So the fact that perhaps we're seeing some sort of pullback from NVIDIA, not really too fussed about it. The markets were overbought, but there is an interesting analysis for NVIDIA. So let's just bring up NVIDIA. All right, and let's do a top-down analysis. So we go through to the monthly chart. The monthly here is looking terrific. Okay. We do need to keep an eye on the fact that perhaps looking a little heavy on a long-term basis, but we do have the 5-month on top of the 10-month. Nice angled separation there. We'll just have to keep an eye on this. You see the problem with overbought conditions on the daily and the weekly, hard to use for timing purposes. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. If you go down to the weekly chart, you can actually see that we've got the weekly 5-week pulling away from the 10-week. And then I just think that the RSI here starting to show some strength as well. It's broken of this downtrending line, and most importantly, it's above 50. The longer we stay above 50, the more support there is for NVIDIA. But where I think the real interesting analysis is on the daily chart. Watch this. Okay, let's clear this trend line. Let's clear the trend line. And what I want to do is I'm going to bring in a volume indicator called the on-balance volume. Let's just go ahead and bring that in. On-balance volume was derived by a chap by the name of Joseph Granville, and it's really just adding volume to a series. If the day closes up, they'll add the volume. If the day closes down, they'll subtract it. On-balance volume must be used on a daily time frame. And what you've got here is you've got NVIDIA coming down, okay, between September and November, but you've got volume moving up. See that? So what that's telling us is more volume going in on the up days. People are buying into the dip on NVIDIA. People buying into the dip. So if we get some sort of dip on NVIDIA, okay, but the volume carries on showing some sort of accumulation, that's going to be bullish. That's going to be very bullish indeed. We're just going to have to watch the volume here with the way the market plays out, given the slight overbought condition on the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. let's just see how we're doing over here. Aha. Cancel that. No, that one's still jammed up. Okay. Let's go back to the US dollar here. And we'll just go down to the hourly chart here. And what we're really doing is we're looking at the pattern here. Okay, there's the wedge. R1 is a 38% retracement level. And then we've got some resistance here. So I think that we just got to see if the let's put that back in. See here's the market reaction. Here's the market reaction. We're back into the level where the market tends to react. If we get a breakdown as such, then I would suspect that there's still money going into the risk markets. And if that's the case, then just going back to NASDAQ 100. Let's bring back the RSI. Okay, get the wedge on the dollar actually playing out and we get a breakdown, well then we actually normalize. I'm not sure the failure is going to have anything more to say about that, and we may get some sort of move here. So I think for us, key signal to keep an eye on is this this wedge, and see if we get a breakdown from the R1 level. Okay. We do have a second webinar today. We're going to do our crypto minute. If there's any questions, please go ahead and type those in. Any questions? Go ahead, type those in. All right. Nothing coming through. Let's wrap up here, guys, and please join me for the crypto minute if you'd like. Thanks, guys.